Now we're starting on exercise chapter 11 from the textbook, and we're creating a form for getting tickets. It's not really true that we're creating a form, we're just modifying the form that's already there. So I have the tickets.html open in the browser, and the tickets.html the tickets.css, but let me close these things out and open up the tickets.html. And I can see that the form is already there. Of course, I could see that displayed in the browser too, but I can see the form and how it's set up. So I have the form, and inside that I have field sets, and each field set holds a variety of content like legends and labels and input, more label input, label input. It's pretty typical to have in your field set then to have a legend, which would be the kind of the title, that word or phrase that's describing what that particular section of the form is, and then various sets of labels and inputs that go along from there. And then down at toward the bottom of the form, we have this field set that has options that can be chosen. Now, if you look over and see, that is this, what I'll call a drop-down box. So junior, regular, and charter, are the options in the membership type. And I can see that by seeing this select, that's a select box. And all of these options are what's going to be given in that box when the user clicks down. There are more labels and inputs in a field set, and so on and so forth. Okay, and I think that's essentially what we have. This final set of inputs is our two buttons that we're going to have displayed over here in the browser, of course, because they're of type submit and type reset. So the type submit will automatically do what is up in the form action. So if that is opening another HTML, then that's what it's going to do. If that is sending to a PHP or sending it to a server side to be handled, to be sent and addressed, or sending it to wherever it's sending it to make something happen. In this case, nothing's really being sent. It's just instead being published on an HTML. But this action is what will happen when a user clicks a button of type submit. And a button of type reset will automatically, without creating any additional code, without doing anything in JavaScript, an input or a button of type reset will reset all of the fields back to their default. And that's what the form looks like. And let's go look at the tickets.css, and I can see up here I have the styles for the form starting on line 48. All of this section is going to be about the form. So I have some rule sets set on the field set, legend, label, so on and so forth, and we're going to make some changes to that. So we're going to modify it a little bit. Let's look at the top of page 427. We're going to fix the formatting of the form, and that is to change the field set margins and paddings. So I'm going to the field set rule set. I'm going to get rid of the top margin. I'm going to make the bottom margin be, the bottom margin be like 5 ems. And then the top and bottom padding is, okay, so now I'm going to do the whole shorthand padding. Remember, that's TRBL, treble, top, right, bottom, left. So my top and bottom should be 0.5 em, And my right and left should be 1M. Whoops, no space there, that won't work. And save and refresh. And now that looks a little bit more condensed. Looks a little bit, it just didn't need to be that long. It wasn't necessary. So there was a little too much empty space there, so we got rid of it. So now number 4, change the legend formatting so the color is black. So I could come here to the legend rule set, and instead of color and this, I could type in the word black. Black is also the default. So instead, I could just get rid of that color altogether, that color line altogether, and save and refresh, and now it's black again. That was the legends. Again, that's where this says registration information and the little border around it. And then number 5, change the formatting so the required and the invalid fields have a 2-pixel border. And that's down here in this input required and this input valid. So I'm going to change this to 2 pixels, and instead of having them red, the obnoxious color, I mean in this particular context, it's fine if you want to use red in something else. So now we have that set right as the font color. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and move this. So the solution has, whoops, I'm sorry, let's try that again. So the solution has you adding the input invalid up here to the input required rule set. But because you already have an input invalid rule set, it's not necessary to do that. You can, oh, sorry, you can certainly just put it again. Either way, you're either duplicating this or you're duplicating this, and it's really about the same thing. So it won't hurt any if you do it the way that I just did it. Won't hurt anything if you do it the other way too. That's fine. And if we save that and we refresh, now that looks a little bit better. The color scheme seems to go along a little bit better. And it's still marked which ones are required. I wouldn't typically do that as the way to indicate that something's required, but it's okay to do that. But you do generally want to inform your users in some way what is required and what is not. And this is the way we're doing it in this particular example. And that's number 5. Oh, and the valid fields have a 1-pixel black border. And I think that's already done. I don't think we had to change anything there. Input valid, 1-pixel black border. Okay, so that means these that don't hit one of the other conditions, or they're valid as they are, those will have a black border, and that's fine. And I think I'll stop there. And now we're going to, in the next video, fix the HTML and test that. So we've adjusted the CSS, and then we're going to go do some changes to the HTML, making 5 categories and taking a credit card and adding in some radio buttons, that sort of thing. So just making a few changes to this. Sometimes you analyze a form and decide, you know what, you need different information, or you want it to be organized in a different way. And so that's the sort of thing we're going to do next.